We're talking to San Juan Representative and House Justice Committee Vice Chair, Congresswoman Bel Zamora. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi, good afternoon, Ma'am Amy, Ma'am Regina, and Sir Ronald and Sir Ed.
Good afternoon,
Hi,
ma'am.
Congresswoman.
For joining us.
Congresswoman.
Who? You go first?
Go.
I go first.
How's your dad?
He's very well. We just had lunch earlier.
Kasi si Ronald was bragging earlier that he's friends with your dad.
I was telling them that your dad is one of the, if not one of the most brilliant congressmen I've ever met, and I've met a lot.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Yeah.
I always say that he's the best congressman ever.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Wala naman
Sige.
bias yun.
Teka.
But anyway, go.
Cambio na tayo kasi sa akin pupunta eh. Ma'am, okay, you're one of the vice chairman of the Justice Committee.
That's correct.
Yes, ma'am. Well, two things to say. It's the VP impeachment case, although wala pa sa Justice Committee, and yung BBM impeachment case. If I understand correctly, iaakit pa siya doon sa plenary, the committee report, for approval or disapproval.
That's
so,
correct.
hindi pa siya dismissed.
Hindi pa. For us, the status is we found that there was that the complaints were sufficient in form, but not sufficient in substance. So the next step is for the committee report to be submitted to the plenary, wherein it can be overruled by a vote of one-third.
One-third.
Yes.
What do you think are the chances of that happening?
Well, I honestly don't see that happening. A lot of my friends, a lot of my colleagues believe that there's no sufficient grounds to connect the president to the charges.
Congresswoman, mapag-uusapan pa ba either sa Justice Committee or sa plenary yung isang aspeto ng sufficiency in substance, yung basis ng sufficiency in substance, like allegedly the testimonies of Saldico, etc. Meron bang ganung puwang sa Justice Committee or sa plenary na pag-usapan pa yon? Because I know that some of those who voted for sufficiency in substance ay may qualification in terms dun sa mga basihan ng articles of impeachment, like yung testimony ni Saldico. They voted for sufficiency in substance, but they don't agree with the basis or the testimonies, for example, of Saldico as a basis for impeachment.
Okay. Actually, pagdating po sa plenary, pagbobotohan na lang po yun.
So wala
there's
nang usap-usapan?
Yes, wala na po. Everyone was allowed to share their thoughts, their opinions, their manifestations on the impeachment complaints when we tackled them last Tuesday and Wednesday. So I think even those who voted for sufficiency in substance were given ample time to discuss their views.
So meaning pagdating sa plenary, Congresswoman, yung magbobotohan, they don't need to explain their votes anymore. Basta they either agree or disagree with the recommendation of the Justice Committee.
That's correct. But I'm sure that some of them will
Make
want
manifestations.
to make some manifestation regarding their vote.
And Congresswoman, when is this vote happening?
We expect the report to be done on Monday. We gave the Secretariat Thursday up to Monday to come up with the committee reports, and they should be doing that as of the moment. So we will vote on the committee report and then bring it to the plenary.
So looking like probably the week after next at the earliest.
Actually, we can probably do the voting next week.
Next week na. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Ma'am, I'm reading through the 19th Congress's rules on impeachment. Mukhang napakasimple naman yung yung definition ng sufficiency in substance dun sa impeachment
That's
rules.
correct.
Rule
It
3,
says there-
Section 5. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
The requirement
There
of
should be-
substance is
the-
met if there is a
It's met
recital of
if there's
facts.
a recital of facts showing the impeachable or determinative of the impeachable offense and determinative of the jurisdiction of the House Committee on Justice. So, in fact, on the second day, and even on last Monday, we tackled what it means for a complaint to be sufficient in substance. And all of us agreed, even, for example, the Honorable Laila de Lima, and she had a lengthy dissertation on that. We all agree that there should be a recital of facts.
Yes, ma'am.
And what would be a recital of facts? It would be the ultimate fact or the overt act, meaning the action done by the president, which would amount to an impeachable offense.
Yes, ma'am. I understand po. But it could be a sin of commission or omission, I suppose. Hindi ba? When
Well,
you're...
yes, that's correct. It could be a sin of commission or omission. Yes.
Kasi for example, although I don't know if this was ever the statement was ever made by Toby Tiangco in session or in one of the hearings, pero in several interviews, si Toby Tiangco had already mentioned several times na even the president confronted former Speaker Romualdez in 2024. I think
November
December
2024.
Oh, to
Before
effect na parang,
the budget for that year was, before the next year's budget was signed.
ilang mansion pa ba ang kailangan mo and all that, which tends to imply na the president knew that there was something going on and that it was right under his nose, but that in the end he had not done anything about it.
Let me connect it to the votation that we did earlier before we tackled the
Yes, ma'am.
sufficiency and substance of the complaint. Congressman Terry Rodon moved that the annexes be included in the discussion or be considered in the deliberation on sufficiency and substance. In fact, I voted against that motion, and it was the vote was very close. My point is, when looking, and this was the vote of the majority, when looking at the allegations, the recital of facts, we should also make sure that our basis wouldn't be something that is unfounded or not authenticated, not attested to. So this goes for the Zaldico video. This goes for the affidavits which did not mention the president but mentioned other people. If we had, of course, voted for sufficiency in substance, then we would have all of these affidavits or testimonies brought forth. But hindi nga po tayo umabot doon because we thought that these so-called evidence po nila or the word of Toby Tiangco, they should at least be attested to or form part of authentic records.
Authenticated.
Which the complainants use as their source. Kasi nga po in the verification, it is important that the complaint be based on the personal knowledge of the complainant or based on authentic records.
Congresswoman, let me home in on the second impeachment complaint against President Marcos, which is filed by the Makabayan bloc.
Yes.
There was a bit of a debate over the so-called BBM parametric formula, which is how the computations for the allocations to the infrastructure projects were were calculated. And you were quoted as saying that an imperfect policy direction is not an impeachable offense. But the counter view to that is that, of course, number one, he did sign the budget in the end. And number two, the cabinet officials serve as the alter ego to the president. And therefore, if the DPWH did make that, come up with that parametric formula, then should the president not also be liable here?
Okay, what we said and what many said also was that first the BBM parametric formula was something that was done by the DPWH. This was their policy. Now, if we follow the alter ego principle, that doesn't automatically make the president liable for acts which form part of the executive discretion or the privilege of the executive to do policies or to institute policies for the country, for the government. So the alter ego principle was always brought up. But the answer to that is that there is executive discretion. So unless we see some actual overt act done by the president in committing an offense, then this falls short of the impeachable offenses laid down in the Constitution.
Executive discretion. What do you mean by that?
The discretion of the executive to institute policies, programs, what I said in my statement, in my manifestation, was that not everything done by the president is perfect, or not everything done by the government is perfect. That was the gist of it. And some faulty policies does not automatically make that an impeachable offense.
Right.
Okay.
No, I'm just, but also the fact that I keep coming back to this point because I feel like if any argument would have had legs, probably this would have been it. Because remember, we're talking about the 2025 budget. That was the fourth budget that he signed. Third or fourth? Am I getting my years wrong?
2023.
Fourth, yes, correct. And we know, and we also know for a fact that every year under the, every year the budget does grow, but there was a significant jump for infrastructure projects in the years 2020, beginning from the years 2023 until 2025, until this whole.
That's correct.
Right. So again, I'm just wondering in my head, and of course I'm not a lawyer, but isn't there some sort of liability there?
I think what the Congresswoman is saying is that there is a presumption of regularity unless you can specifically show that there is a concrete smoking gun linking the president to corrupt practices,
Right.
which benefited him or his family, etc., etc. So, because most presidents, they sign increases in budget every year, no? And even most, if not all, presidents sign allocables.
Right. But they really ballooned.
Yes.
And
but,
they're the president.
yes,
Under
but-
President Marcos.
Yes, but the balloon itself is not, it's by itself a smoking gun.
Yeah.
No? So you have to
Yes.
show that there is something linking the president.
And then we come back to Ed's point
Yeah.
about Toby Tiangco's meeting
Yeah.
with the president and Zaldico and Martin Romualdez.
Yes.
Right?
But
Which-
then,
So there was knowledge of that, clearly, that there,
Yes.
that there were
But-
anomalies.
But even if there are anomalies committed by others, it doesn't necessarily link. That's not my argument. I'm just saying that this is what the Justice Committee discussed. No?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
let
as
me
far as
relate
I'm
this, for
concerned, there is
example.
sufficiency in substance to put it into
Ah.
yeah.
Go ahead, Congresswoman.
Let me relate this also to the discussion on unprogrammed, unappropriated, programmed appropriation.
Unprogrammed appropriations.
They were saying that that the president did not veto that portion is already an impeachable offense, especially since the Supreme Court declared the same to be unconstitutional.
Correct.
So what we said there, and it was discussed lengthily by Congressman Rufus Rodriguez, was that as of the time that the president signed the budget, that was not declared unconstitutional. So there is a presumption of the constitutionality or the legality of that funding, and there's a legal principle behind that, and that just means that the president, as of that time, did not have any bad faith or corrupt intent. So that's similar to the other allegations.
I don't think, was corruption one of the ones that Makabayan Bloc charged him with? I think it was just culpable violation of the Constitution. Oh, yeah, it was graft and corruption.
Yeah, the first allegation was regarding the BBM parametric formula. The second one was unprogrammed appropriations. And then the third one was his alleged involvement in the kickbacks.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we're fast running out of time, but I did want to move on to the impeachment against the Vice President this time. Of course, the complaint has now been referred to House Speaker Boji D. What are you expecting there? When might it hit the Justice Committee? And how long? Well, we had Congressman Erice the other day, and he said he expects a long deliberation on this. What do you think?
It should be, if it's in the office of the Speaker now, then it should be referred to the Committee on Justice within 3 session days. So early this week, it should be with the Committee on Justice, and then we will calendar our hearings. And we will proceed as we did with the BBM impeachment complaints. We start with a discussion on the sufficiency of form. Yeah.
So the nation can expect speedy action, as speedy as the action on the impeachment against the president.
Well, similar to the deliberations on the impeachment complaints against the president, we will tackle the form first, then we will tackle the substance. In fact, we had lengthier deliberations this time compared to previous impeachment complaints filed with the Justice Committee in previous terms. Because in previous terms, they tackled the sufficiency in substance by making manifestations regarding the entire complaint. Our chairman this time decided to be more accommodating and liberal, and in fact, we tackled each and every allegation one at a time.
Yeah.
So we will be doing the same.
Okay. We have run out of time. I'm sorry. We have to leave that there, but we'll call you back in, Congresswoman, if that's okay, once the deliberations for the other impeachment get underway. But thanks so much for talking to us today.
Sure.
That was San
Thank you
Juan,
very much for
Congresswoman.
this interview.
San Juan
Thank you
Representative
po.
and
Thank you,
House
Congresswoman.
and House Justice Committee Vice Chair Bel Zamora.